The World Economic Forum is real, and the Great Reset is real. People still think the Great Reset is a conspiracy, and it's not happening. It's unbelievable to me because the Great Reset is the World Economic Forum, and the World Economic Forum is the Great Reset. If you don't know what the World Economic Forum is, it's the wealthiest people on the planet. It's the CEOs and co-founders of some of the most successful companies in the world and politicians from all over the world all sitting at one round table coming up with what our future is going to look like. This is what's happening, and this is not a crazy person conspiracy theory, some type of tinfoil hat idea. You look into this, you're going to learn a hell of a lot about what the future is going to look like. But me paying attention to what Warren Buffett's doing with his stack of cash is more of a war chest. It's a mountain. He's sitting on $1/6 trillion in cash through Berkshire Hathaway, and he's been building up this war chest over the last decade, every quarter, just a little more and a little more and a little more to have about $150 billion in cash. And now he's dumping this cash and making huge stakes in massive companies right now. But why? Why would he be doing this when we're at all-time highs? Well, I'm going to tell you why. This article, it shows a very clear picture of what's going to be happening. Universal basic income is the answer to inequalities. This is April 17th of 2020. So this is only 30 days after this problem we stepped into. 30 days, right? So we step into this problem. They say it's a 14-day solution, right? 14 days after the expiration of that solution, they offer this solution here, universal basic income. A universal basic income. Back then, that was a pretty radical idea because they never really suggested it at that big level, and a lot of people were independent. They didn't need a universal basic income. However, now the Sun's reporting that 24 cities and states offer a universal basic income program up to $18,000 over 2 years. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that universal basic income or giving a helping hand is a bad thing. I just think there should be a cap on the income. If you're going to give a universal basic income indefinitely, I believe that's going to take away incentive to contribute to the economy and to society, and it's going to build out this relationship of sheer dependence. And when we have that type of relationship, that is a very big problem because we give up our freedom and our independence in relationship with that handout. So I think that nothing in this world is free, and a universal basic income is not the long-term best solution for the everyday person. Now, Alaska, Arizona, Birmingham, Chicago, Columbia, Durham, Georgia, Healdsburg, Jackson, Long Beach, Louisville, LA, Minneapolis, Mountain View, Newark, New Orleans, New York State, Oakland, Philly, Pittsburgh, Rochester, Shreveport, St. Paul, Washington, D.C. So a lot of blue cities, blue states people will say. I'm positive people are going to say that. However, now Florida Democrat wins special election after promising $1,000 checks, right? After a largely self-financed campaign that promised universal basic income from the government of $1,000 a month to people making $75,000 or less, Democrat beat the Republican on Tuesday, right? A health company executive should be the first Haitian American Democrat in Congress. Okay? Texas, North Texas Daily, universal basic income is the way to go. Pandemic has brought on one of the worst economic fallouts that America's ever seen. It brought a financial shock and a global economic slowdown that surpasses all predictions. The pandemic provided major devastations to industries such as air travel, restaurants, and movie theaters. 1 in 4 adults have had trouble paying their bills since the start of the outbreak, while 1 in 6 have had to go into a food bank. So why is Warren Buffett dumping his cash? He just purchased this insurance conglomerate for $11.6 billion. This is about 3 weeks ago, $11.6 billion. And then today it was notified that he now is buying very big again, $4.2 billion stake in HP, and stock surged about 10 or 11% after that purchase. HP is, with the World Economic Forum, achieving digital equity means tackling tech poverty, and they have all these different articles essentially validating HP and their great contribution to society, and we should be so grateful for them. Now, what's happening now with Jerome Powell? Fed moves towards slashing $9 trillion stockpile of bonds to fight inflation. Federal Reserve is moving closer to rapidly shrinking its huge $9 trillion stockpile of bonds in the coming months to fight high inflation, a move that would contribute to higher borrowing costs for consumers and businesses. Now we think about how perfect everything worked out in relation to their suggestion in April of 2020, saying a universal basic income is going to be required, right? They print all of this money. The costs go through the roof. Real inflation, many would argue, is about 20 or 30%. So you have rising costs, and then we build out this ecosystem of dependence, whether it be PPP loans or stimulus or unemployment checks. People are making and receiving more money than ever before. And what do when they have more money than ever before? They overspend, right? They get themselves into debt. A lot of people aren't savvy when it comes to money. They'll just go out there, they'll buy, a luxury car and like Gucci belts, and they'll just blow through all the money. And then what happens is at the end, they're sitting in record high credit card debt and consumer loans, right? And so these consumer loans, they're now going to be going up in price with interest rates rising. And when you have higher borrowing costs, it's going to mean that it's going to be more challenging to obtain loans. So people are going to be not just requiring or requesting universal basic income, they're going to be demanding it. They're going to be knocking down their door saying, we need universal basic income. And then they'll say, okay, great, we told you so. We're going to give you this universal basic income. But, as we all know, nothing in this world is completely free. In minutes from their most recent policy meeting 3 weeks ago, released Wednesday, Fed policymakers said they would likely cut their holdings to $95 billion a month, nearly double the pace they implemented 5 years ago when they last shrank their balance sheet. At that meeting, the Fed raised its benchmark short-term rate for the first time in 3 years and signaled that it planned to continue raising rates well into next year. The plan is quickly drawn down their bond holding marks, the latest Fed move official to accelerate their inflation-fighting efforts. Prices are rising at the fastest pace in 4 decades. The Fed officials in recent speeches have expressed increasing concern about getting inflation under control. Financial markets now expect much steeper hikes this year than Fed officials had signaled, right? Now, interesting, because Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan said Fed to hike rates higher than the market expects. The head of the U.S. largest bank said markets are underestimating the speed by which he expects the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates. In a letter to shareholders released Monday, JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon added that short-term borrowing costs needed to be substantially higher to address the rapid pace of price increases. The stronger the recovery, the higher the rates that follow. I believe this could be significantly higher than markets anticipated. Dimon remarks suggesting that the Fed could lift interest rates by more than 2.5% this year, as some are betting markets are pricing in. High inflation and stronger labor market recovery pushed Fed Jerome Powell and his colleagues to pull back on the central bank's extraordinary pandemic-era monetary stimulus, beginning with the first interest rate hike last month. The Fed's now in the early innings of an interest rate hike cycle, right? Now, they just announced this 4 minutes ago. Rising mortgage rates are causing more home sellers to lower their asking prices. This generally happens in healthy markets. When interest rates go up, prices come down because of affordability. When interest rates go down, prices go up because of affordability and cash flow. When you're a multifamily investor, or you're buying retail or any type of investment that's going to spit out cash flow, the interest rate that you lock in on that investment is going to have a great impact to the viability of the deal. Now, what's happening now is we're seeing Warren Buffett dumping all of this cash. Why would he dump cash? Because he knows that we're going to be stepping into a new system, a new environment where they print so much money. Biden's already talking about a new $5.8 trillion package for next year. They're building out all these new universal basic income programs. What's going to happen? His dollar is going to be dying at a faster rate than ever before as inflation continues to speed up. So he's going to dump as much of that cash into the market to buy stakes in companies that are going to give him float and security for the future to make Berkshire Hathaway a bigger conglomerate than ever before. We're stepping into a very uncharted world. This is territory that's never been charted before, and we're going to see some very big changes. And unfortunately, we're in a world where we're so divided through what's happened over the last couple of years. People now, we're seeing everywhere, the relationships are severed with other people in their family. When they suggest things before, they would think as a unit. But now everyone's kind of on one side or the other. And because of that, when you bring out, conversations about the Great Reset and things that are changing and transpiring, there's some people that just want to write it off as conspiracy because maybe they think you believe X, Y, and Z, right? This is all happening. This is no doubt about it. It's coming to reality. And so smart investors and people, everyone needs to know about this, all walks of life, whether you believe X or you believe Y, understand what's happening, because you're going to be able to make smarter decisions and protect yourself and provide for your family and do better because you know where we're headed. We're heading into a very interesting time. But what do you think about all this? What do you think about everything that's happening right now? Drop your comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe here, consider subbing on my second channel, my personal channel, links down below, as well as TikTok where I post 3 to 5 times a day. I'll catch you guys on the next video.